the 27th.
Yes. That's what I was working on. Oh, we changed. Oh, okay. Wait, I got 57. Description of how we went through this.
It is 7 p.m. and we will call this meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We will start the meeting with roll call.
Councilmember Marcus.
Here.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Councilmember Ansich.
Present.
Councilmember Robinson.
Present.
Councilmember Wenzel.
Present.
And department heads are here, sans our fire chief, who is off doing some training at the moment. Moving on, approval of the agenda. What is the council's pleasure?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
A second.
Moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, claims, vouchers, and meeting minutes from the August 16th and the August 30th meetings. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. I apologize, I skipped over. No, I jumped forward, excuse me. Approval of the agenda has passed. Public comments. Public has an opportunity to comment on anything from the agenda items. We do ask that you limit it to 3 minutes, but the floor is open. If anybody has anything. No, we did have a couple written comments submitted.
First one, my name is Justin Whitaker, a resident of Cosmopolis. I have reviewed September 20th, 2023 regular council meeting packet and see the council is aiming to enforce, implement, or change 3 ordinances: parking, noise, peddling. Noises. I live on G Street. My parcel holds an easement where I'm frequently exposed to the community transit stops and school bus stops. I frequently hear kids during the school year, Monday through Friday, making loud noises as they get off the bus and walk by my house on the sidewalk or by cutting through my yard. Since I live on the main road heading to the new housing development, I also get a lot of local joggers, dog walkers, and kids passing by as they're walking towards First Street. Anyone who passes the area on foot outside my house, front or back side of the house, has to endure my neighbor's dogs barking at them nonstop. I am also subjected to the drivers who decide to race their car up the hill faster than the posted speed limit. These sounds are normal, common occurrences within daylight hours that I and many others hear. Louder noises are more common for some residents than others, and we don't make them an issue as it's the livelihood of the town and its residents. The standards set forth in Section 9, Item E, page 17 through 22, Ordinance number 1385, appear to outright limit, deter, and or threaten those who either have children, social gathering events, and are socially alive during the day because someone simply submits a complaint. I believe there is likely a more ideal noise ordinance that can be agreed on to help the younger families, older families, and the like, while sharing the city's core interest to help maintain a healthy place people want to live. Suggested example: quiet hours after 10 p.m. and before 7 a.m. every day of the week, or hours after dark are quiet time. Parking. As a dad who walks his kids around the block in the summer while using a red wagon, it would be nice to see more enforcement on the parking issues per RCW 4661570, people who block the sidewalks. Thank you for your time, Justin Whitaker. The next one is Ashley Archangel. I wanted to reach out before tonight's meeting about the noise ordinance being proposed. I believe that the council should reject this proposed change to the noise ordinance on the 920 agenda. By moving Zone 1 to be public noise disturbance, Section 2, 9.48.02014, it prohibits the citizens from specific unmeasured enjoyment of their personal property. By using the pre-existing noise ordinance, there are clear standards as to what is in violation of the maximum noise level. By allowing the updated proposed ordinance to pass, you are treating our city like a homeowners association. Those types of definitions that include whistling and singing on or near public streets are excessive by any means. Additionally, there is no provision for families to ensure there is no targeting of an individual, i.e. if an individual from a family complains about their peace being disturbed, and then another individual from the same home/family complains, then is that two separate breaches of peace, comfort, and repose? Would the family being told they're too loud then be in receipt of not one, but two noise violations for the same offense? Having the current clear standards of noise performance standards allows for an unbiased, clear definition of a noise violation, allowing for anything else that leaves room for bias from all parties. The definition in the proposed code includes disturb or interfere with peace, comfort, and repose of owners of real property. Why would we change our code to an unspecified breach of peace that isn't appropriate? This proposed ordinance includes ambiguous and vague definitions for breach of peace that should not be allowed in our city code. We should reject the proposed ordinance and continue to use the clearly defined noise limitations listed in section 3, 9.48.050. If our officers who are enforcing noise ordinances need additional sound level meters to enforce the pre-existing code, I believe we should ensure that they have those available to them. Or if they need approval to be trained in the usage of the sound level meters, then allow the council to approve that. Allowing such an arguable code that allows for any gray area in noise enforcement by the human ear, such as that whistle is loud enough to disturb someone else's peace, seems to be a step backward for our city. Please consider this before you vote tonight on this agenda item. Ashley Archangel.
Thank you. Anybody else from the public on agenda items?
Cheryl Turner, 825 and a half Second Street. What brought on the proposed change to the noise ordinance that's already in place?
We'll be discussing that in the council when it comes up.
Okay.
And that'll be brought up. Seeing no more, we move on to consent agenda consisting of claims, vouchers, and meeting minutes. And what is the council's pleasure on this?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and second to approve the consent agenda, now consisting of the claims, vouchers, and the meeting minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Moving on to committee reports. Finance Subcommittee.
No meeting, no report.
Public Works.
Yeah, we had a meeting tonight, myself, Candace, Darren, and Jeff, to discuss some building permit issues, things we're looking at. We will be having another meeting before the next council meeting, and I think that was about it. If you guys have anything to add. Candace? No, I think that's it.
Perfect. Public Safety.
No meeting, no report.
And Parks Rec Cemetery.
No meeting, no report.
Right. City Official Reports. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll try to keep this somewhat timely. For anybody that's interested, online is a copy of my written report, which has some items that are informational only and some of them that will be on the agenda for action tonight. The first item is the new municipal building. We are going to be breaking ground around the first week of October. We had, as of the last meeting, been looking at postponing that until March because of the wet weather that's coming up. We didn't want to be doing a lot of work during that time of year. Well, because it's been so dry and the long-term forecast shows fairly dry for the next 60 days or so, the plan now is to excavate the area where the foundation would be, drive the piling, form and pour the foundation, and then shut it down until March or April. So that stuff would be in place, ready to go in the spring when we start getting decent weather. So we'll get to start seeing some activity here in the next few weeks. So that's an exciting thing. The other item I want to spend a little bit of time on, and this is an item where we would need to have council action on if you want to proceed. And this is on I Street, looking at vacating 10 feet of I Street on both sides of the road. This is from First Street to the river, to where the levee's at. And this is an 80-foot right-of-way. A standard right-of-way is 60 feet. This I Street is one of the only streets left within the city that is still an 80-foot right-of-way. And that is because that is considered from First Street all the way down I Street to where it hits Altano, up in Altano to where it hits Stanford as a minor arterial. So that's why that has never been changed from an 80-foot to a 60-foot right-of-way. This area right here, a 60-foot right-of-way would still keep the sidewalks within public right-of-way, so there would be access to the waterfront and the levee. The property owners of the property between I Street and the city's pump station have petitioned the city requesting that this be vacated, the 10 feet on their side, and then we would vacate 10 feet to the property owner on the other side and just make a standard right-of-way. If we want to move forward with this, then we need to have a public hearing, and we need to set that for the next city council meeting, for the first meeting of October. I believe that's the 4th. So at that time, we would have to notify everybody within the area so they can come in and give input on if they're for or against that. There's another issue tied to this property, and we would want to or need to address this at the same time. The city has sanitary sewer and other utilities that run through what was the platted alley of that parcel. And that parcel number is 031-001-200-000. That property had been sold to Weyerhaeuser many years ago, and I don't know from whom that went to Weyerhaeuser. But when that property was owned by Weyerhaeuser, probably in the 70s, early 80s, the alley was vacated, to the best of our recollection. That then took out our access, to the utilities that should be either covered by an easement or covered through a public right-of-way. So we need an easement on that parcel. So with talking with the property owners, one of the things in exchange for an easement that we came up with that could be pretty cost-effective to the city, and the council would have to, approve this in an agreement. We would exchange free water and sewer hookups to that parcel in exchange for the easement, which we would then have a legal document to do that. Otherwise, if we don't go with that agreement, we may be held up with having to negotiate it another way. So that would have to be addressed the same evening. So if these are two things you're in favor of doing or looking at, we would first need to set a public hearing for next meeting, and then also place on the agenda the utility easement issue.
We cannot do it on the next meeting. I was just looking at RCW. It has to be 20 days notice plus 15 days for adjacent. That's the RCW 3579020 for the notice of hearing for objection. So upon the passage of the resolution, the city shall give 20 days notice of the pendency of the petition.
Well, this would be an ordinance.
Let's see.
Do we have 2 meetings next month or one?
Yes,
Yeah.
we started.
That would work, Mayor, that, not a problem.
That's it.
But that would be an ordinance, not a resolution for that.
Well,
Notice of
there's a
hearing.
Steve, what's your recommendation?
We discussed this,
Several months ago,
yes.
but it got put on hold because the property was for sale, and the property owners have reapproached the city.
We've done similar deals for easements, waiving the hookup fees.
Yes, but it would have to be
Yes.
approved by council and voted upon, and
That's what I would touch on is, it's not free water and sewer, it's.
No, just the
it's
connection.
The connections,
They
yes,
would pay
that's what
you.
I
People
would
don't
say.
think that they're getting free water. and
No,
sewer.
it's the connection fees, which
Fiscal
on this
for a
property is
second.
gonna
So it'd
be,
be resolution? It would be not, so if it's initiated by a resolution of the city, we still need 15 days. So either way, we need to do.
Yeah, let's go to the second one, it's just,
So
So
that
October
the
18th.
18th.
yeah, okay. I'll contact the property owners, that will make it work.
Yeah, but Darren's right, it would be an ordinance after, or if the city council decides to grant the vacation, it would be an ordinance.
The last item that I would need action on, if you're in favor of this, and this is a grant opportunity through Department of Commerce. They've now got funding out again for vehicle charging stations. And I think it, would be a good opportunity for our park and ride down by the Little Mill Creek Bridge there on 101. I attended a funding webinar late this last week. The issue is there's a 25% local match. So we don't have an idea yet what that would cost. I'm sure it's not gonna be cheap. So I don't know if you want me to spend some time pursuing this. Apparently, there may be some funding from Department of Ecology that would help with the local match. So, I'm willing to do this, but I first need approval from council, and if you think it's something you'd like me to spend some time on.
So you're asking for approval to apply for the grant, or?
Yes, but also I guess I'm looking for guidance to see, it's a long shot at 25%. We know we can't afford that. We're gonna have to be able to have some other local match, like through Ecology or somewhere else, to be able to fund this. So, with things tight the way they are, you want me to focus on it or not?
I don't know a whole lot about those charging stations and stuff yet, but it seems to me having one at the park and ride down here, I mean, the one downtown that they have, if somebody plugs their car, what the heck do they do while they plug the car in? I mean, there's no place to go. You sit there and I don't know how long they take. I don't know what it costs. Yeah, I don't think it's cost a fortune, but
Depending on the fast
Yeah.
charge or not, and at this point, 20 minutes,
20
hour.
to 40 minutes usually.
Yeah.
on a test.
I mean, I say I don't know enough about EVs to speak on it very much, but that's always been one of my questions.
There was
When
a-
I see the one
there was a
downtown,
big push
Where
when
do they go?
when the charging station went in over at Walmart. That was through the Electrify America. There was a bunch of that grant money being thrown around. That contractor was putting in charging stations, northern part of Oregon, Washington, Idaho. They were big.
Yeah, and there had been some funding where they would help reimburse the utility, for their part of it. And the utility, in our case, Grace Harbor PUD, would participate and they would get reimbursed. I don't know if that's the case this time around. I know there's gonna be future opportunities. This last biennium, we also saw some opportunities. Being a public entity, we qualify for both the fast charging and the regular charging stations. So there's 3 different types, those 2 plus the Tesla style. And I know they're talking about changing some technologies, so
Yeah.
I don't know if we're a little bit ahead of our game. It would be nice, but I don't know how many we've got in town. If anybody's got one of those vehicles, I'm sure they've probably got their own charger at this point.
As far as public, there are not a lot.
Yeah, I don't,
So I guess you would be asking for the council for approval to look into find funds to cover the matching and apply for a grant if you were able to find those
yes,
funds.
and then I guess the third part of that is, do you want me to focus on something that it's potentially a long shot for the match? I think we would qualify well for the 75%, but
I'm trying to remember the cost to even give a ballpark of what that 25% would look like. I really don't know.
yeah, that's,
It's
Um,
not-
obviously-
it's not cheap.
If you can locate it close like, that would be ideal location, there's three-phase power right there.
Yeah.
So that's
That's kind of the reason we thought there, but like Ray says, there's nothing else there yet,
Yeah.
you know, that.
Yeah.
I think it might be worth looking into, if you can get people to stop,
Yeah,
it's a reason for people to stop.
so would there be an obligation, like, let's say we got that 75% grant, is there an obligation, like, well, we have to follow through, or is this, we weren't
I
able to
don't, I
make
don't think so. You'd have to, the council would have to authorize the signing of the funding.
afterwards?
But I think.
So that's
the
our check
first-
valve, right?
Yes,
So-
and the first course of action would be to see if I can get the 25% local match.
Cause we would have to, if it was awarded, council would have to accept it too.
So
And
again,
maybe,
does the council want to even look for the matching funds, or is this something that we need to
Okay.
think about later?
Well, so I'd make a motion to move forward with, looking into the grant as well as matching funds. Yeah, that's my motion.
and as far as location, maybe it's something we could incorporate into the new facility here.
It could be,
If we could
yeah.
kill two birds, one stone kind of a thing.
Yeah, we've got the three
Maybe
bays
there's
there
some
as
help
well,
for incorporating grant-wise into, you know, charging station,
Yeah,
we're going green.
I'll second the motion, just so we can discuss.
well, and then I'll report on it. We'll have time in October 4th
I
meeting,
mean, looking into it.
update you as well.
I think it's worthwhile exploring these grants. I know they come up when they have a short window. It doesn't give us a lot of time, so I think that's the important piece of it is, you know, we have some work to do on some more research. I know there's level 1, there's level 2, there's CCS, there's all these different kinds of chargers. GM signing different contracts, these Tesla chargers, there's a lot to it, and I read a lot on it, and I'm still confused. But yeah, it's a complicated subject, it's new, right? But I think that's something, if we can get it funded, that's a great step in the direction. It also ends up, you know, on the different apps will show where the locations are, so that can help. It's not a lot, but right, but any traffic through town is a good thing to stop, grab dinner down here or whatever, grab a snack at the gas station or whatever.
I see him driving through town.
So,
Yeah, there's quite a few, yeah.
so, yeah, I think, you know, there's no harm in
No harm in looking
in
at it.
looking at this, so.
It's the future. I mean, at some point.
She Inslee said so.
It costs, I
So
mean,
did a lot of other people.
based on a very rudimentary kind of look at some of the costs, they're not as, the Department of Energy in a report, this is from a few years ago, one of those stand-ups, they show them at $3,000 to $6,000 total. So if there was a match, it could be minimal, so it's the installation that is gonna probably be the cost more than the
Yeah, I thought they
unit.
were talking in the tens the other day, but I can look.
This is an older thing from DOE, but, yeah, but, I mean, it's worth,
Good question.
if the council, thinks it's, worth looking into, more discussion.
Oh, we've got a motion.
Yeah, we got a motion in a second,
Yeah.
so.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's
And that's all I've got, thank you.
perfect, thank you. Police chief.
Sorry I didn't have a written report to you in time.
It's okay.
Update is Officer Bailey's out of the academy, getting close to being done with field training, on track and doing on time. He's in what we call a shadow phase already, so he's doing good. We started a digital community watch program. Hopefully people are receiving something with their water bill, trying to get community support to create a opportunity for partnering with the community when we have stuff happen in our community. Part of it's being prepared for future problems. So if there's any questions on that, I'd love to answer those questions, but so far on the social media post on it, we got a good response. I've already got a good list started of people that want to partner with us on it. We did have a rash of vehicle trials over 2 nights. All unlocked cars, but encourage people to be locking their vehicles. We have recovered some of the property and we have some good images of the two perpetrators doing it. Partnering with Aberdeen and Hopeland, trying to connect with a bunch of vehicle prowls. They've had a significant larger portion than us of vehicle prowls, but possibly the same people. And trying to tie it together and use resources from all three of our communities to try to identify them. I would again urge people, lock the cars and don't treat your vehicle as a holster for a firearm. Lock it up. We also assisted aid with an airlift of a patient from the elementary school field. And we've been dealing with some more mental health problems. But part of what I would report to you tonight is that there is 22 counties that have filed a lawsuit basically against the state, trying to force some accountability and get the state to fulfill their obligation to evaluate and treat civil conversion patients instead of just turning them loose into our communities. So we're keeping a close eye on that and hoping that there's some good progress with that. We did have a pretty big increase in the number of calls for service. Normally we're mid 100s. This month we were at 283. That's it.
Thank you, Chief. Finance Director, Jimmy Pope.
As everybody knows, I'm working on the budget. I have gotten all my spreadsheets back and have met with most of the department heads. I'll be meeting with the fire chief on the 29th, and then I'll be meeting with the mayor and city administrator to go over the preliminary budget. I'm gonna set a public hearing for the revenues for October 18th. I also will do a workshop prior to that meeting at 6 o'clock. I will have a whole PowerPoint to go over all the revenues for all of the city funds. And that way the public and council and everybody can ask questions then as we get the ball rolling. We are meeting with Shane Heston, who's our insurance agent, on October 3rd to discuss our insurance renewal. So I don't know where that's sitting at yet, but I am expecting at least a 10% increase. Seems to be kind of the standard. The last couple of years, insurance increases have really skyrocketed. We're fortunate we don't have very many claims, so we do better than most. Last year there were cities who went up 25 to 30% because of the number of claims that we had, or they had. And that's all I got.
Perfect, thank you. Fire Chief Valley is not able to join us tonight, but he did submit a report. I will brief it, but it is in the agenda if anyone wants to read it. One of the big things, speaking with the city of Aberdeen, the fire agreement that Cosmopolis has with Aberdeen was set to expire at the end of this month. Working with Chief Golding and Chief Miller and Hoquim, Cosmopolis is resuming to become an active member of the countywide mutual aid agreement, so that assistance from Aberdeen that we've been paying for is ending at the end of this agreement, and we're back to mutual, which is fantastic. And they'll still have response, of course, as part of mutual, but we will be reciprocating and able to. And Chief says that continue to work on the Grace Harbor County Emergency Management All Hazard Mitigation Plan. That is ongoing work, but there is a survey available that people can comment on, and I know that is on emergency management site and possibly linked over on the other elsewhere on social media as well, but emergency management has that survey access. And Public Works Superintendent Jeff Nations.
I got one good news. Alder Drive and Mill Creek Drive are done. I don't know. We got a little bit of work to do, but for the most part, they're all done. Paving's done. It's got a little shoulder work to do, yet to do, but that's all done and behind us, and we didn't find anything too bad underground, so everything came within the budget that, that we asked for. So that's all behind us. C Street school zone lights. When school started, we didn't realize we had a dead battery in one of the 5th and C Street one. So I've ordered batteries 3 weeks ago. I've been talking to the lady. She's trying to figure out where they're at. So the 2nd and C works, 5th and C doesn't. We're hoping to get them back up and going in the next couple of weeks. As soon as we get the batteries, So they're 10 years old. They've lasted us a long time. So we're getting 2 new batteries for it, and hopefully won't have this problem again for a while. Also, we've had 4 water leaks this month that we worked on. 2 plug sewers. The last 4 weekend duties, everyone has had a water leak to deal with by themselves. So we've been busy during the weekend. During the week, we've had multiple funerals to do. So we've been busy for the last month. The bad news, Lions Club restroom, I put a pamphlet out there. They got hammered last night with graffiti, so they're closed. I got Santa Can coming tomorrow or the next day. They'll be there by the weekend. And police department was hoping that Lions Club might have had something. We don't know if they got anything or not, but hoping that when I get community service kids, be able to have them paint them back up, get them ready for when these people move on. And if it's not them urinating on the walls, now they're doing this. So we don't have the money to clean them every single day. There's probably 2 days worth of work to do in there now. So they're gonna be closed for a while, and we'll go from there. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Sorry.
One thing I'd like to add
Yeah.
with that, Jeff and Chief Lehman and I met today with a representative from a security camera company, and they had just happened to be coming by this today anyway, and that happened last night. So we're looking at some alternatives, going forward, because this has just been ongoing, and I know the guys in Public Works have just been cleaning up some messes that you wouldn't want anybody to have to deal with. But it's not just that, it's the cost, especially in times when the general fund is hurting so bad. So we're trying to find ways to, going forward, to remedy this, so if it does happen, we won't have to shut them down. We can catch the folks that are doing it, and they get to talk to Chief Lane.
The cameras won't be on the inside.
Yeah, no, they will not be on the inside. There's strict laws we have to go by, of course. But yeah, so we're looking at some alternatives.
It's very time consuming cleaning these and have them ready for somebody that actually uses them correctly. You can't just hose them down and walk away. There's a lot of scrubbing, a lot of, it just takes time. Weekend duties, my last 2 weekend duties, Saturday morning, you go in there, we spend 2 hours down there cleaning it up.
And that's with them being locked up every
Yeah,
night.
they're locking them up every single night. And they were locked last night, and I think, Officer Bailey, he probably smelled the paint fumes, because as soon as we walked in this morning, got to the door, you could smell paint. And so, yeah, just, anyways, that's where we're at with those. Unfortunately, we've kept them open for a long time, trying to just hope these people would pass by, because that's the last thing I want to do is close the bathroom, because they ruin it for everybody. So, but that's where we're at. So.
Thank you. City Attorney, Steve Johnson.
No report.
On Mayor's report, a couple things. At the last meeting, I had gotten a letter from Darren King, a local resident who served on the Planning Commission since 2010, and he is unfortunately having to step away from the Planning Commission. He's served again since 2010 and served diligently, and he said he's willing to help any way he can, but he's got some other personal things that he needs to focus on. So am opening up anybody who's interested in serving on the Planning Commission. I'll post something on social media as well to get applications, but if anybody has letters of interest, we're going to be accepting them, and my hope is to have an appointment for council approval and confirmation at the October 4th meeting, to take one more thing off October 18th.
So what's the last one? Accept the letters.
I would do. Is that gonna be enough time for a week and a half? We'll do a week until the 29th, and then depending on the level of need, hopefully get somebody appointed and confirmed at that October 4th meeting. If not, we'll push it out to the 18th. Also, at the Grace Harbor E911 meeting yesterday, which I serve on, for the city. I can say that, we had an adjustment in the fee structure for calls for service, so on a per call basis. So, we will see a change in that for 2024 as approved by the administrative board. And that will consist of a drastic reduction in the costs for, Cosmopolis, and it creates a more equitable cost, throughout the county. So, there's some good news with the reduction. And so that'll be coming up in 2024. And that is all that I have. So we will move on to new business, and we will start off, that is, with the local parks maintenance grant application.
This here is the application you gave me permission to apply for back in July. However, Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office requires permission to be granted in resolution form. So therefore, we are needing a resolution approved by the city council for the application that was submitted last week. They did give us an extension, knowing we already had permission to apply for it. So we have an extension through tomorrow to submit the resolution.
What is the council's pleasure?
I make a motion to approve the local parks maintenance grant application.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to give the city administrator authorization to apply for this local park maintenance program. Discussion.
Do we need to approve the resolution?
As a resolution. Yeah.
As a resolution, so approve the resolution slash authorization. Was that the intent of the motion, I'm
Yes.
assuming? Yes. Yes. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So pass. Next item on the agenda is, I received a request to insert a letter of support for the Washington State Coastal Counties Initiative as part of Greater Grace Harbor. This is part of funding from the local EDA and as part of recompete funding with the Economic Development Administration. And they asked that the city and myself submit a letter of support. There is a draft that is in your packets, and I would add nothing else other than the highlighted sections. If the council so wishes that I am allowed to insert this letter of support. So what is the council's pleasure?
Make a motion to approve letter of support for Washington State Coastal Counties Initiative.
Moved and seconded to sign a letter of support for this EDA recompete pilot program. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. I will get that sent off tonight because the deadline is tomorrow for the request. But I wanted to get council approval before I signed on to that. Next up, item C, an ordinance for building permit refunds. What's the name of it?
Steve doing?
Yes, please.
Okay, this is ordinance number 1383, an ordinance pertaining to the refunding of building permit fees, adding a new section 1404015 to the Cosmopolis Municipal Code. What this does is it establishes a policy for refunding building permits, which we didn't have before.
Yeah.
So within the last couple of weeks, we'd gotten a request to refund a building permit that was actually expired. It was like 18 months old. And so I started looking for any policies that we had, and I realized we didn't have one. So I went and looked at what different cities are doing, and this is what I came up with. So basically, if it's expired, you don't get it refunded. And if you've done any work, you're not going to get it refunded. So the building inspector's gonna have to go out and verify that no work has been done. And I set $150 limit, so it would have to be more than $150 on the permit because of the time Bill looks at the applications, the time we process, we would go in the hole if we gave them back all their money. And of course, the state fee, we can't refund that because those monies go to the state. So again, the city would lose money if we gave them that back. And again, no more than 75% of a fee shall be refunded anyway, again, so that we don't go in the hole on those. So we're just asking council for permission to approve this policy.
Julie, could I ask, could you clarify why we would be refunding money on a permit?
If they don't do the project.
Okay, or if it's not inspected in a timely manner?
No,
This is if the applicant does not finish the project, or does not. do
doesn't
the
start
project.
it, period.
Doesn't start it, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I'll make a motion, we pass ordinance number 1383.
Seconded.
moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1383, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Ordinance 1384, next item on the agenda.
Ordinance number 1384, an ordinance pertaining to parking restrictions, amending section 10.12.060 of the Cosmopolis Municipal Code.
Who wants to touch on this change?
Well, I can speak what the changes are. What all this does is it makes two changes. One, it makes the parking restrictions applicable throughout the city and not just on First Street. And the other change is it adds RCW 4661-575, which among other things pertains to parallel parking and having to come within 12 inches of the curb. We didn't have that in our code before. So I guess you could park 3 feet away from the curb and not
Do you
get a
have
ticket.
something in the alleyways,
Pardon?
blocking alleyways? Or is that already in there?
Already under.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, it's already there.
I mean,
reading the whole
well,
thing,
it will
okay.
be if we apply our municipal code to all city streets and not
All
just
city
First.
street.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I make a motion, we pass ordinance 1384.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1384. Discussion?
I've got one under section B, it says, and I guess I'm after more clarification, it says, it is unlawful for any person to park any motor vehicle in any alley within the city. Is, if you have a garage that you access from the alley, are we calling just the city-owned alley?
Yeah.
Or, okay.
Yeah, because that
It's
would be on,
pertaining to obstructing the flow of driving downhill.
Yeah, and that's in the code already.
no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Moving down the line to ordinance 1385. See?
Ordinance 1385, an ordinance pertaining to noise, amending sections 948.010, 948.020, 948.050, 948.060, 948.150, and 948.190 of the Cosmopolis Municipal Code.
Clarification on this, what's the change?
I think I'll let Chief Lehman explain because he was the impetus behind this ordinance.
There's a few different changes. First thing I want to draw your attention to is the current ordinance as it is a criminal citation, a arrestable offense to have something too loud in our community. I'm asking it become an infraction, something where we don't have to have such a high burden of proof and somebody can't be put in jail because their music was too loud. We want to make it a civil infraction where I believe it firmly belongs. That's one of the biggest changes. Next thing is that it makes it enforceable. Currently, the city owns an old sound meter. Our city ordinance requires it to have certifications, requires the person using it to have specialized training. I don't know where the certifications come from, nor do I know where the governing authority is for that training. And we have one unit, and it's not available to us. It's one person in the city was originally trained to use it when it was purchased, and I believe it was Jamin Turner. So it's literally unenforceable to us. So this uses the language that was best advised of by, what's the code for the website for the city resources?
MRSC.
There you go, MRSC. It's the best practices recommended language for communities to use. It's withheld constitutional challenges, and it meets all the standards of what they would want. One of the concerns that was raised by email that I received just a little bit ago was suggesting that it be only for quiet hours, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Well, that's actually more restrictive than what's asking. I'm asking it to be the 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And it has to be public nuisance noise as defined. It's not something I get to just willy-nilly decide this is a public nuisance. It's literally very articulated and defined of what the public nuisance must be. So it's not vague. It's not something you can just harass a family for whistling down the street. It's very definitive things, but it allows it to be enforced to a level of like a speeding ticket, a civil infraction for doing it based upon an officer. Hey, I told you to turn it down. I can hear it more than 50 feet away. Turn it down or you're getting a ticket that's going to cost you a monetary penalty. Again, as opposed to taking a sound meter reading and arresting you, giving you a criminal citation and having a mandatory court date, which then we have a court-appointed defense attorney applied to, and we have a loss of finances for the city to just get somebody to turn down the music at the Lions Club Park, for instance. So that's what this ordinance is about. The language is directly from MSRC or MRSC. If you want a little dyslexic, I'm sorry. But that's my best explanation, and Steve can certainly expound on that if you'd like, but that's what I got.
Yeah, I totally agree. As you said, the definitions are pretty clear, and the noise has to be unreasonable. So would a reasonable person find it to be noise that is disturbing or interfering with peace, comfort, and repose? So you have to look at the reasonable person standard in enforcing it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the section 1C, when it says that if she shall be a rebuttable presumption, if somebody had, unless I'm mistaken, I am no lawyer, but if somebody was instituting a bunch of false claims or something over and over and over and over again, that's something that it could be challenged. Is that, I'm assuming that's what rebuttable presumption?
Yeah.
So if there was as the letter stated, someone multiple claims without anything, this gives that opportunity.
That's correct. One of the other concerns in the letter was that of parking dogs. Our noise ordinance doesn't now, nor will it if it's part of this. It's not covered. Parking dogs is covered under our animal ordinance with habitual howling and barking. So if that's a concern of theirs, we would encourage them to call the non-emergency number like everybody else and report it to us, and we'll try to resolve that.
And
But it has nothing to do with this ordinance.
just because that got brought up, I just do want to make mention, I've mentioned this numerous times. If somebody does have issue with their neighborhood dogs, and this is a noise ordinance for them that they're having an issue, do contact the non-emergency number. Nothing is going to get done if there's no reports or anything on it. The first occurrence is not going to be something that's going to change anything, so.
It also
if it
needs
is
to be
bothered.
something that the officer is able to observe themselves. So it's not something you can tell me and expect me to take action on for when it happened the day before. It has to be observed by the officer, and that's state law or misdemeanor present rules, so.
Yeah. So on ordinance 1385, council's pleasure.
Make a motion to pass ordinance 1385.
I'll second.
And moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1385. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. And rounding out the ordinances tonight, 1386.
Ordinance 1386, an ordinance pertaining to peddlers, amending chapter 532 to add a new section 532030 to the Cosmopolis Municipal Code. And what this does is it provides penalties and enforcement mechanism for enforcing this chapter, which before it told you what was unlawful, but it didn't tell you what could be done about it.
So this is another one that I requested, off of some complaints, door-to-door solicitation, etc. Pull up the chapter to make sure I'm standing in the right place to have conversation with the folks, and I realize there is zero enforceability to our current municipal code. Yes, you have to have a business license. No, we have no ability to enforce that. So I'm asking that to be fixed. And what I'm asking for is, again, is a civil infraction, not a criminal offense. And it has a graduating scale that follows the revised code of Washington. First offense, second offense, third offense, going up and costing them more money each time they don't resolve it. That's the simplicity of this one.
What's the council's pleasure on this?
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1386.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve ordinance 1386 regarding peddlers' business license penalties. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So passed. Thank you, Chief, for bringing these up and letting us clarify some of this stuff. That is all we have on the agenda. Council comments. Councilmember Marcus. Carlisle?
Nothing.
Nancy?
I would like to show my appreciation to Chief Nick Valley, even though he's not here. He's been doing a hell of a job over there with the fire department. Chief Lehman, Darren, Jeff, City Hall staff, everybody. It hasn't been a great year budget-wise, money-wise, but got knocked some big stuff out of the way this year. Still knocking big things out. So that's all.
Nice being able to accomplish something. The better.
Right?
My first is to the chief of both the police and the fire departments, and had occasion over the last month and a half to have response to our house, and it's been great. EMS shows up, police shows up, to make sure we're all okay, and it's been wonderful to have the departments respond the way they have, and they've just been wonderful. For the road work that's been done on Mill and Alder, fantastic job, it looks great there. And the rest of the place is looking real good. The city and everything is looking really good. And really appreciate all the workers.
No comment.
With that, we move on to public comments. Public has an opportunity to comment on anything city related. And again, we ask that you just keep it to 3 minutes.
I have a question about the charging stations. So the cost, who pays for the electricity? Is the city getting any revenue from that? Will we have a report on all of that? I mean, I think that I'd love to see that in our city because I see growth coming. I see us growing and bringing new business and all of that, but also, and I think that's an important element. I don't know if we're there yet, but what are the costs to the city once it's done and what?
I do know we would have to pay for the power unless we have a partnership with Grace Harbor PUD, and I don't know if they're getting involved with this one yet. I will try to reach out to them. I have a meeting tomorrow night with Grace Harbor Council of Governments, and I'm sure this will be one of the topics, because it's been an important thing for Grace Harbor, the Council of Governments, because they're kind of our transportation planners for all the cities within Grace Harbor, Pacific, and Wahkiakum County. They're part of the regional RTPO, Regional Transportation Planning.
Southwest Washington.
Yeah, they keep adding acronyms. Southwest Regional Washington, whatever. I'm stopping right there. But,
It's a
I
big
do not know if we can get revenue from that. that is a great question. I've got to look into that, but I do know, I would say we're probably on the hook for the power.
Okay, so that would be important, especially where we're at with the budget and everything currently.
And that's, all stuff we'll learn as part of this process. Any further public comment? Hearing none, thank you, everyone. 7:54. Thank you, everyone.
I wanna know if the charging
Yeah.
station
Are you doing?
will work.
Put in the shirt this morning,
Julie?
I was going